This is not a drill. The Miami Hurricanes have just landed the top recruit in the entire country, Jackson Cantwell. Welcome to the U.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
For everyone who supports the Miami Hurricanes, for everyone who supports the Georgia Bulldogs, the Oregon Ducks, to all of us in the media, we are collectively stunned based on everything that has come out of the past couple weeks of the Jackson Cantwell recruitment. So many twists and turns. I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. On this loaded Locked On Canes, where does Miami's recruiting class now stand after landing the top player in America? All of the twists and turns in the Jackson Cantwell saga over the final day. But guys, again, I woke up this morning expecting Jackson Cantwell to be a Georgia Bulldog. When I had my lunch today, I was still expecting Jackson Cantwell to become a Georgia Bulldog. The feedback coming out of Coral Gables was not positive. And I owe an apology, I think, to Steve Wiltfong at On3 Sports. I probably owe a few apologies to Pete Nakos at On3 Sports, because from last night into this morning, when Wiltfong started talking about, hey, there's some Miami buzz, Miami's not going away here, I'm like, okay, Steve, yeah, you're trying to sell some subscriptions, you're trying to play up the drama just so he can dunk on us and pick Georgia, and the Georgia fans can dunk on the Miami fans. And then lo and behold, the Miami Hurricanes were able to chip away at Jackson Cantwell until the final hours, because around 1 o'clock, 1:30, you started to get the predictions. Pete Nakos puts in the RPM prediction, the on-3 version of a crystal ball for Cantwell to become a Hurricane. Steve Wiltfong joins Nakos in putting in the RPM for Cantwell to become a Miami Hurricane. And folks, you have, of course, best offensive line coaching in the country with Mario Cristobal as your head coach, which also makes Miami probably the most offensive line centric program in the country, and his excellent tag team partner when it comes to coaching up the offensive line, Alex Mirabal. And a comment we did hear from Cantwell, night before his decision, was that he believes Alex Mirabal is the best offensive line coach in America. And Cantwell decided Miami was the spot for him to develop, and Miami is the program that gives him the best chance at success. Jackson Cantwell, why is he the number one rated recruit in the country? 6'7.5", 305 pounds, 305. Welcome to the 305 to every one of those 305 pounds of Jackson Cantwell. He is an absolute mauler. He is polished. He will probably become a starter at Miami next year. We'll talk about how that could very well happen for him. He's also a track and field stud. This guy is going to be setting records. He has, Olympic potential, shot put, discus, javelin. Both of his parents, his mother and father, are track and field former Olympians. And the track and field connection is why a lot of folks thought, up until a few weeks ago, that maybe Oregon could have the edge, because Oregon, out of his finalists, Miami, Georgia, Oregon Ducks, Ohio State, Oregon has the best of the track programs among those. But bottom line is, this is a football decision. Football is what's going to make Jackson Cantwell money at the collegiate level, and of course, money at the professional level, because you can't make money in track and field the way that you can make it when it comes to being a football player. Top offensive tackle in the country, considered to be a generational talent at offensive tackle. So the opportunity that Cantwell has at Miami, timing, folks, is also super important, okay? Because right now remember, Jackson Cantwell, class of 2026, He is going to be stepping on campus at Miami, likely January of 2026 as an early enrollee. 2026 football season will be his debut, his hello to college football. Right now in 2025, Miami has an established right tackle starter in Francis Mauigoa, Big CC, probably a future first-round NFL draft pick. And Miami has an established starter at left tackle in Markel Bell, probably, hopefully, a future NFL draft pick coming up in less than a year's time. So for Jackson Cantwell, the timing of those two who are on the team now and will likely both not be on the team a year from now, he is going to have two openings and an opportunity. I see Cantwell, and most folks do, it's probably more of a right tackle than a left tackle at the next level. I'd be good with him at either spot. He's so big, he could probably play both at once. But Jackson Cantwell will have the opportunity with CC Mauigoa off to the NFL in less than a year, that Cantwell is going to have that opening. Every spot has to be earned, but you could be looking at the right tackle, starting right tackle at the University of Miami in just over a year. That's Jackson Cantwell. And we know a big part of his decision criteria, in addition to who's going to develop me, is why he chose the coaching combination of Cristobal and Mirabal, but also Cantwell, he wants to be able to play right away. Now, that's something, he probably would have been able to accomplish just about anywhere he went. Like, I'm not going to say Cantwell doesn't slide into the starting lineup at any of his other finalists, but it's certainly the case at Miami, and the other factors were also there for him. And, you follow the visits, right? It's been a little while. It's been over a month and a half probably since Cantwell was on campus at Miami, but made several unofficial visits to the U, including a visit during spring football that had folks in Coral Gables so hyped up that, when he kind of condensed his decision timeline and you thought, hey, he's probably going to announce in April, that was going to be a thing for a while. Miami was seen as the school having the big edge, right? But then he postponed his announcement to May 13th today, took a last-second trip to Georgia, an unofficial visit, a couple days before his decision, and all the trends had been going in Georgia's favor, right? And there also was a time in late April when it looked like Oregon was starting to trend for Cantwell. So you went in a short period of time from, hey, watch Miami here, Hurricanes are in the lead, to, oh no, maybe it's the Oregon Ducks in the lead, to, oh, Georgia is definitely in the lead. And the predictions were coming in left and right in Georgia's favor. And then day of, just a few hours before the Cantwell decision, you start to get these predictions flipping in favor of the University of Miami. Now, I know that I've talked about a lot of reasons why Cantwell to Miami makes sense from a coaching, development standpoint, an opportunity standpoint. Another thing that's important to Cantwell is academics. And, Miami, compared to the larger schools that he was also considering, smaller, more intimate class sizes. I don't have all the academic rankings in front of me, but we know Miami is a strong academic institution, a really nice, enjoyable campus. Cantwell seemed to enjoy the time he spent down in South Florida. So those are factors as well. And then I know if any Georgia Bulldog fans have found this episode, you're saying, what are you talking about? Coaching? What are you, development? Son, they dropped a bag for Cant. You guys, you're going to want to talk about the money. Listen, I don't know for sure what Miami's offer was from Canes Connection. I don't know for sure what Georgia's offer was, Ohio State, Oregon, anyone else. I mean, Oregon, they got plenty of money. They got that Nike money up there. I can certainly say that, when Miami identifies a priority, and when you're talking about, a program like the Hurricanes that prides themselves, as Mario Cristobal does, in building impeccable offensive lines. I mean, a few recruiting cycles ago, 3 cycles ago, Coach Cristobal and Mirabal were able to land 2 of the top offensive tackles in the class of 2023 in CC Mauigoa and Samson Okunlola in the same class. Miami heavily pursued Jackson Cantwell. Yes, Miami has a really good NIL situation, and I'm sure Miami's offer was competitive. Reports out there that Miami had a higher NIL offer than anyone else. But that's one of many boxes that Miami can check off for Jackson Cantwell. I mean, Cantwell, you talk about this university making him a priority. When he made his most recent unofficial visit to Miami, he got FaceTime. He got a meeting with the university president, Joe Echeverria, who's a big Miami sports fan. I don't think Miami's ever had a university president who's cared as much about sports as Joe Echeverria does. And he actually met with Jackson Cantwell. That's another way to make this young man feel like a priority. Let's talk about where Miami's recruiting class now stands. And again, folks, and by the way, for those who have been following my life throughout the day today, I was unable to do like a regular morning episode today because my internet service has been out. I was able to come up with a plan B hotspot. I'm pretty sure my internet right now is being run by hamsters running on a wheel, but we found a way to make it happen because I wasn't going to miss this Jackson Cantwell episode. Here's where Miami now stands in class of 2026 recruiting. You want to keep it locked right here, my friends. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Folks, let's have some fun on FanDuel tonight. Let's celebrate. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action than right now. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. And we've been winning big on the Florida Panthers throughout the playoffs. They've now evened up that series with the Toronto Maple Leafs at 2. It's been a lot of fun. Guys, if you're new to FanDuel, this is the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're also proudly brought to you by Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Folks, I'm telling you, Monarch, I've been using it for the past couple of months. It's changing my life for the better because I realized just how much I was overspending on things like food delivery and streaming services. Now I budget smarter and I save more. It makes a difference. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. Talk about an emergency episode. I didn't think I'd be doing this today, but Jackson Cantwell has chosen the University of Miami. Now, it's not National Signing Day. We're going to have to wait another 7-8 months before he actually puts pen to paper and makes it official. But what I appreciate about Cantwell, and I know other teams are not going to stop calling him. I guess the question will be, does he answer those calls or not? But he has made it pretty clear that when he makes his announcement and verbally commits that he plans on shutting his recruitment down, that Cantwell is going to be focused on the University of Miami from here forward, and he's not going to take more visits. He's not going to, and every player does it differently. And I'm not saying the ones who, keep their options open are doing it wrong. It's really, I've, never been recruited like that before, so I can only imagine how that works for these players, especially high school players. But Cantwell seems to be one of the guys who is, not going to keep his recruitment open. He's going to shut it down, which is great. And another thing that surprises me about this decision, quite honestly, is Cantwell and Jared Curtis, number one quarterback in the class who recently committed to UGA. The two of them seem joint at the hip to the point where there were reports out there dating over the past few weeks that Cantwell was actually recruiting Jared Curtis to Georgia. Curtis then announces Georgia and Cantwell announces Miami. So either those reports were inaccurate or maybe Cantwell at that point in time really felt like he was getting pulled to Athens and now he's being pulled to Coral Gables. And, Miami has a very good quarterback committed in the class of 2026, 4-star Darion Coleman, who we're big fans of. I mean, Coleman, it doesn't have the prototypical size because he's about 6'1". He's not the 6'3" to 6'5" range that you see a lot of the 5-star quarterbacks have that prototypical size. Coleman doesn't have that, but he's got some of the best arm talent that I've seen of a player of that age. And he's also very charismatic, very athletic. And I would figure that Coleman's influence probably had something to do with this. And, Cantwell is going to become his starting left tackle and perhaps the starting left tackle for Luke Nickel, who could end up being, who's already on campus now as a true freshman, could become Miami's starting quarterback next year. So I love this. And of course, you land the number one player in the country. What happens? You're moving on up in those recruiting rankings. So the 24/7 Sports Composite, I had to run this through the calculator because they've not updated it yet with Cantwell as part of the class. But Miami, before landing 5-star Jackson Cantwell, had 9 verbal commitments. That's now 10. And the Hurricanes had the 18th ranked recruiting class in the country. They've moved all the way up from number 18 now to number 9, which is a big move for one player. And the school that they're right behind in the recruiting rankings is Kansas at number 8, who has 15 verbal commits, and Miami has 10. So Miami now has 1 5-star commit in Jackson Cantwell, and they have 7 4-star verbal commits and 2 3-stars now. So Miami ranks behind USC, 28 recruits, 28 commits, I should say, number 1 class in the country right now. Notre Dame at number 2, Ohio State 3rd, Penn State 4th, Clemson 5th. Dabo's been recruiting really well. We'll see if Miami can surge ahead of them, of course, because Miami has had the number 1 class in the ACC at least, 2-3 years in a row. You'd like to make that another year in a row for the good guys. Texas A&M at number 6, LSU at number 7, mentioned Kansas at 8, Miami at 9, Syracuse 10, Georgia at number 11 now for class of 2026 recruiting. So Miami makes a big jump after landing Jackson Cantwell. And this is a statement, folks, quite frankly, how important this was, because Miami was very much in it for the top 2 offensive tackles in the class, the other one being Kenai Pepe of IMG Academy. And Pepe, within the last couple of weeks, verbally committed to USC. He's got a lot of family ties to that program, so it makes sense, but Miami really wanted him. So after having missed out on Pepe, Miami really going all out for Jackson Cantwell, who's even higher ranked than Pepe is. God forbid you go 0 for 2 on your top 2 defensive or offensive tackle, I should say, targets. Don't want to go 0 for 2 on those guys, especially when, we know how seriously Mario Cristobal, how seriously he takes offensive line recruiting, specifically recruiting in general, of course. And, you want to be able to show that, hey, we can still get great players to come to the little old ACC, right? I mean, oftentimes, if you're trying to battle the big boys from the SEC, that SEC logo carries some extra weight. It's difficult to win some of these battles, and Miami beats out mega program from the Southeastern Conference in the Georgia Bulldogs, and you beat out a couple of mega programs from the Big Ten in Oregon and Ohio State. So this is a huge recruiting win for Miami. And folks, we certainly have a lot to talk about in the upcoming days. So make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to Locked On Canes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your pods. And folks, we'll have the recruiting overlord, Brian Smith, with us tomorrow. I had to reschedule the truth teller because I didn't have any internet this morning. I got the hamsters running on the wheel right now to power me up. I'm actually pedaling like Gilligan's Island to keep my internet going for right now. So we're going to have the truth teller. We're going to do a makeup episode with him on Thursday. Brian Smith, the recruiting and portal overlord, on Wednesday. I wonder what we're going to talk about with Brian. Geez. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.